Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we'll be reviewing what is quite possibly the perfect Ford Bronco. Before we get in this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Gamechanger Ford here in American Fork, Utah for giving me some time with this Bronco. This particular one is still available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Powering this is a turbocharged 2.3 liter four-cylinder that goes through a 7-speed manual transmission. Fuel economy is 16 around town and then 18 on the highway, and a big part of that is because this has a 4.46 axle ratio. Power outputs are 300 horsepower and then 325 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, we've got the normal Bronco hood. Notice how it kind of like keeps going up as you go forward, and then you've got the mirrors that are attached to the bodywork. We've got these really cool LED lights here. Notice the Bronco logo in the center, and yes, got the upgraded bumper here, which just looks cool. It's got really cool recovery points, and obviously it's better for off-roading. But wrapping things up, especially with this silver paint, I think this thing looks really cool. Come around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 265, 70, 17 in the front and over in the rear as well. You guys can see we got Steelies, such a cool off-roader thing. And yeah, these are pretty aggressive off-road tires. I love the fender flares on this, then you guys can see black diamond there on the side, and then we actually have rock rail protection here at the bottom. And then here's your full side view. The only downside about this particular Bronco is it is a soft top. At least I think some of you might see that as a downside. Some of you might see that as an upside because, well, it's easier to take the top off. Now here is the key fob. You guys can see we've got our unlock function, we've got our lock function, and then the Bronco logo on the back. And we have the multiple compression hatch. It's always interesting to open. But storage space back here is actually really solid, and notice we have even more storage underneath. Now with the soft top, you actually can pull this part off. You just have to unlatch a couple things. I'm not going to do it because I'm lazy. Now closing this is always a lot easier than opening it up. Now you've got the base taillights here, got a recovery hook here on the back end, and then another Steely on the back with an all-terrain tire. Wrapping things up, I think this thing just looks so cool. It's like the perfect stance, and again, you just can't go wrong with Steelies. Now popping inside, we've got this gray trim here at the top of the door panel, and look at the padding down below, and then we've got little netting at the very bottom. And then here are the seats. This is the cool thing about the black diamond. You got these upgraded seats, and look at like the blue stitching throughout. Now legroom back here is really solid. We've got a little netting right there. And you guys can see we've got our window controls in the center with a charging port. And this has stadium seating, so we're actually higher than the front seats, so it kind of like gives us this cool perspective. And then headroom back here is also good. And then here's the front door panel. You guys can see the trim here, and then look at the padding down below, and then we've got a little netting there again. And then you got the mirrors. I always feel like I'm gonna hit the door into the mirror with the Bronco because the mirrors are fixed on the bodywork. And then you got the front seats, and it's Bronco logo, and you can see really nice trim overall. The seats are manually adjustable, and then you got like your light controls right here, and then I like the blue. That's really cool. Now here is the steering wheel itself. You guys can see we've got the nice trim all around. You got some controls for the center stack. We've got our cruise control with our volume controls, and then we have our turn signal and windshield wiper stock. Now here's the center gauge clutch. You guys can see you've got the analog speedometer there on the side, and then we can scroll through a bunch of different menus here to see different bits of info on the car. And then I like the pitch and roll. I think that's pretty cool. And then we also have the GOAT modes. So we've got our normal, eco, sport, slippery, mud ruts is where things get exciting, sand, and then we have our rock crawl mode as well, so this can do it all. And speaking of do it all, we have a rear locking differential. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see because of the lighting. Stability control, and you get hazard lights, but the big thing, rear locking differential. Now in reverse, we do have a backup camera, which direction lines that turn with the steering wheel. You can also zoom in with the camera as well. Now as for the rest of the infotainment system, we've got this shortcut bar here at the bottom, and overall response time is actually really good with the screen itself, and so it's solid. I do dig the blue here on the vents. I think it's pretty cool. And then Bronco logo right there, and you guys can see analog controls for the radio, single zone climate, and then our drive line select. So this has everything except for 4-wheel auto. Still have hill descent control. That's also the GOAT mode select for those of you that are wondering. And notice how it's moved because of the manual transmission, which we'll get into in just a moment. But notice charging port right there, and then you can see this is also moved with the manual. It's kind of interesting. Got some cup holders here. Window controls all in the center with our mirror adjustments right there. And look at the storage space in the center console. Very nice. And then we've got the glove box right here. Okay, so 7-speed manual transmission. So as of my knowledge, there's not really a good like explanation on this transmission on YouTube. Maybe there is and I just have missed it. But anyways, here's how this thing works. So pull up and this gets you into reverse, and you can tell because backup camera pops off. And then as for the rest of the transmission, it actually functions like a regular 6-speed manual. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth gear. Pretty straightforward. But you also have a crawl gear. So what you do is you pull up on the tab, push it over, and then down where you'd go into second. And this is the crawl gear. So you can see it has a little C for that. And so that's your 7th gear that you have with the Bronco manual. You guys can see we've got 6 auxiliary switches here at the top for all the different items you can add. Manual mirror dimmer, and then we've got the soft top here at the very top. So there's a ton of glare, so you guys aren't gonna be able to see the window sticker. Sorry, 2023 Black Diamond, 2.37 speed. It's a 321A equipment group is what it says. It doesn't really have any options added to it other than the front modular bumper. Base MSRP is like 42. Total MSRP in this one's $44,360. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility of the hood, both of the mirrors. Throughout the rest of the rear, and parking brake in this. So I guess we'll start off with actually, I guess demonstrating the crawl gear. So here's first gear. I don't know if this will be the best test ever, but first gear just feels like a normal first gear, like I'm just rolling forward at a pretty normal speed. And then here is crawl. And what you feel from the driving perspective, and you guys can probably see I'm going a lot slower. It's the gearing with this is way lower. Again, this is like a granny gear. And so I think this is super cool, super groundbreaking. Don't worry, I'm in second now. Because what this means is you don't have an unusable granny gear anymore. Like a lot of cars, what they used to do is first gear was your crawl. And so you'd have to, you know, basically just around town, either start at a second or instantly go from first to second because of how the gearing was in first, right? I remember that with a lot of diesel trucks, for example. And so I think it's cool that Ford has been able to develop this transmission that gives you the best of both worlds. You have a regular first gear and you still have a crawl gear. Like, I mean, what more could you ask for? And when it comes to this manual transmission, it's really good. It's actually really smooth in terms of like getting it into gear and everything. Like the clutch actuation's great. It's easy to use. And the shifter is really notchy. Like you can tell that you've just gotten into gear. Like it's really cool with how this is. And I know this might not be exciting because parking lot driving, but I think I feel like you have to do parking lot driving to kind of talk about a manual transmission a little bit. Now, aside from that, I mean, everything else is regular Bronco. The seats, all that kind of stuff, they're really comfortable. Visibility is good. Now with the soft top, you do get quite a bit of noise coming into the cabin. That's just soft top life. Yeah, see, that's a usable first gear. So torquey. Now this doesn't feel as quick as with the 10-speed auto, because the 10-speed auto definitely helps out quite a bit. Not the easiest engine to rev match downshift, which is surprising because I owned a Ford Focus RS, which has a manual transmission and this engine, but it you know, it's definitely tuned different, you can tell. That is for sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you've got a first gear that you can go well over 20 miles an hour in. So that's so cool that Ford is able to do that. Now, yeah, aside from that, I think this is a great manual. This would be easy to daily drive. Again, the rev match, I think it would take a second to get used to it. Yeah, I mean, it didn't take me too long. I kind of matched up the RPMs pretty well there. I love how this drives. It handles so well. Again, it doesn't have like the crazy huge tires you get in like a Wild Track or something. And so it's got this more like lightweight tossable feel to it. So overall, the Ford Bronco manual transmission is probably one of the coolest like bits of off-roader tech, and I think it's super underrated. Not a lot of people, you know, talk about this. What you hear from most, like what I've seen in most reviews, is they go, oh, it's got a crawl gear, and it's like, wait, you gotta talk about this more. Like this is big, right? We have, again, a usable usable first gear. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about the Ford Bronco manual, and let me know if you are now like more open to a manual Bronco after seeing, I guess, this little demonstration here. But see you guys.